We give our first impressions of the redesigned 2020 Subaru Outback. We answer questions about first-year reliability. And what do you do about dealer markups when you're trying to buy a popular car? Next on Talking Cars. Hi, and welcome back. I'm Mike Quincy.
I'm Keith Barry.
And I'm Jake Fisher.
We are so excited this week to talk about the redesigned 2020 Subaru Outback. This is the car that has really grabbed a lot of people's attention. We were able to rent two models from Subaru. We have a premium model powered by the 2.5-liter four-cylinder engine, as well as the top-of-the-line Touring XT, which gets the turbocharged 2.4-liter that's out of the Subaru Ascent. This is a car that a lot of Consumer Reports, readers, members, subscribers, all the above really follow. So Jake, tell us, what are your first impressions?
First impression of the car? Well, I mean, it's incrementally better kind of in most every way. I mean, this is a car, wagon, SUV. I mean, first of all, we were just talking about it before. I mean, it's kind of like a best in its class.
But what is it?
Now, class of kind of one, right? I mean, it's kind of this unique offering, and that's why people are kind of very excited about it, you know, because it's kind of a wagon, kind of an SUV, but lower. And it's always been a really great option for people. I mean, what did they do to it? Well, they did a lot, actually. I mean, it's on the new platform. So there's this new platform that they launched with the Impreza, and then the Ascent is on it. The Forester is now on it, and now they're kind of going through the product line. So the Outback will be on the Legacy very soon, too. And this new platform is kind of a little bit better tied down. So the ride is still very nice. The handling is a bit better. It's a bit roomier. They also changed the infotainment screen, so now it's like a really, really big screen.
And that's where it kind of goes into the weeds a little bit.
Yeah, so I mean, I think the cool thing about Subaru is that they can take a car and totally change everything, and it feels just like it's barely different. It's like renovating your kitchen and putting in all new everything, but it's the same exact countertops and appliances. It's just new, you know?
Well, the Forester was like this too. I mean, like I had our new Forester and the old one. They look the same.
Sure.
I mean,
but there is one thing which is different, and there's this giant screen in the middle.
Tesla-esque.
It's Volvo-esque. Honestly, I'm going to go that far. It does have, the nice thing is it does have actual buttons for climate control. The not nice thing is that it divides up the screen in ways that I don't necessarily think are useful. So for instance, if you use CarPlay or Android Auto with it, it puts CarPlay or Android Auto in this tiny little screen in the middle of the screen. It's like a picture-in-picture TV, but yet you have like an angle of attack
Don't
sensor.
forget to set your VCR.
Up top that has that shows you you're at -2 degrees on the road, and it's the size that you can actually see it from across the highway.
Right.
And that sort of mix, it just feels like they didn't put a ton of effort into the screen. The big screen is fine if it's.
See, I don't know if I agree with you on this, because here's the deal. Okay, my biggest problem, now we're getting like major first world problems here, because we complain about things like CarPlay that most of the market don't even have. But I mean, one of my big problems with CarPlay is that I get CarPlay, and then I want to change like my FM radio station, I got to bounce out of it and do something else. I want to go change something to climate, I got to bounce out and do something else. What's nice is because they bisect the screen, I get my CarPlay here, and then below it, I've got my climate. Below, in the middle, I've got, what's playing on FM radio. I could change my FM radio station without bouncing out of my ways that I'm using in CarPlay. I mean, it is a little weird. I mean, sometimes I got my radio below CarPlay, my radio above CarPlay, and it's something else too. But I mean, I think by having multiple things, which is actually Volvo-esque, maybe one of the few things I think are kind of cool about Volvo is they can do multiple things. Not that everything is great on the screen. I mean, there's certainly some opportunity for improvement, but bisecting it. But the weird thing about the CarPlay, again, getting right, this episode is about CarPlay. It is really tiny, and I think on my iPhone Max or whatever, I think it's bigger if I just use my cell phone.
The screen is actually bigger than It's. I think they could do a. I like the fact that it's divided up, and in fact, the new version.
I won you over. Now it's good that it's.
No, I like the fact it's divided up, but it's divided. It's sliced and diced too much.
So the car really actually does have good handling in the ride. It's pretty quiet inside.
You drove the car?
Yeah, I just stayed in the parking lot.
Yeah, me too.
I was trying to get my Hall & Oates on fire, and if I can't get my tunes, I'm not going to.
All right. Let me talk about. I'm going to make the worst pun ever, but let's talk about the 2020 EyeSight.
Because I
heard a pin drop somewhere. But the EyeSight has changed, right? I mean, this is our driver assist stuff and whatever. Yeah. And it's always been a good system that has, the automatic emergency braking. I mean, that's standard equipment and all these other things. But what they've done is they've added
facial recognition.
Well, they've got facial recognition. Right. So they've got this driver monitoring camera, which...
Hello, Jake.
Yeah, pretty much, right? I mean... So one thing it's got that. Now we saw that before in the Forester. They had it in high-level Foresters. I drove a couple hundred miles with this thing. I mean, it's supposed to notify you when you're not looking at the road. Great idea. I'm all for that. I think driver monitoring and all that stuff. There's lots of potential, but every time I kind of like moved my head, but I'm still looking at the road, it was annoying me. I mean, I think most people are going to shut this off because it's not smart enough to really notice if I'm actually looking at the road or not.
I found it a little hyper. I would turn my head just to get my coffee cup, just for a second. And it said, keep your eyes on the road. I was like, I'm not fine. I'm here. I'm paying attention.
Itching my face or something, and I'm like,
it's a little antsy.
I think people are going to wind up turning it off. The other thing, which I'm not super happy about, is they seem to, again, we're talking about Volvo again. Yeah. They're copying like a pilot assist system, these kind of like these vehicle automation systems. Now it's got lane centering. It's so like lane keeping is like you go over the line and it goes beeps at you or it nudges you if something happens. Now it's got this thing where it's got a steering wheel button on the steering wheel, and a little thing lights up, and it kind of goes in the center of the lane, but sort of not, and annoys you, and it's not great. I don't know what it's for.
I turned all that stuff off, and that was another downside of this screen is you have to go through lots of menus and sub-menus to turn it off.
And they don't even make sense.
But the good part is I drove one all weekend, is once you set it, you don't have to then reset it every time you start the car.
It's a little different because we're all getting in these cars that other people have driven, and
so you were the one who
playing
screwed it
around
up
with
for
them.
me.
Yeah.
Well, not the first time, not the last time.
But I mean, in the menu, right? I mean, there's driver assist stuff, and then there's like all these different
It's
menus
really configurable. You can really get in there.
I'm sure.
Right.
Yeah. We'll put that video on. But the weird, I don't know. It's not ripe.
I'm not going to go so far as to say it's as you were equating with Volvo. I still think the Volvo system is much worse. I would live with the Subaru system way before the Volvo one.
I'm with you there.
But
I do think, like you say, things stay off. I am kind of afraid for the system because there is that annoyance. It's going to wind up like, I don't like this system, I don't like that system. You shut all the stuff off and it stays off and it's not going to be there to help you when you need it.
And you're going to turn off things that you maybe don't intend to turn off because it's so configurable and everything is in slightly different menus that you're going to, I just want it to stop beeping. Okay, so I shut off something that
I couldn't get it to stop beeping using adaptive cruise control. And I went into the menu
Now what that is that when you're on the adaptive cruise control, if it sees a car and then stops seeing the car, it beeps.
Right.
And Hondas do this too.
But I don't need
I can see the
that.
car.
I don't need that beeping. And I couldn't find out how to turn it off.
Some Kias do that as well.
Why do I have to look down there and it telling me what I'm seeing and then I'm distracted by it and then it's just
And then the camera tells you you're not looking at the road.
So as we've gone on maybe ad nauseum about the screens and electronic stuff like that, really want to get a little bit into more about how it drives. So Keith, behind the wheel, what do you think of the redesigned Outback?
So I got to say I love that turbo. I think it's gonna attract a sort of customer who's looking for something that's practical but doesn't want to give up on fun. And it's fun to drive not just at high speeds. It's fun around town. It just feels like there's kind of it feels like you got the wind at your back when you're driving it. This turbo is just, it's well sorted out. There's not a ton of lag. I really like it in this particular car. In the Ascent, it needed to move a big car, but it just feels so nimble. Yeah, sure. I like it. I like it a lot, and it's supposed to get better fuel economy than the 6.
Yeah, and that is kind of the downside if you were fans of the 6-cylinder Subarus. Those are going away now. And it's supplemented by this turbo 2.4. But what about even just the basic 2.5?
I mean, it's okay. I mean, it's not quick, and it's if you're an Outback driver, you're not going to be surprised, but it's certainly not a quick vehicle. But I totally agree that turbo. I mean, again, if you're a fan of the 6, but I mean, the truth is that Subaru is really known for turbo 4s a whole lot more than it is about flat 6s.
Sure.
And it is really nice in this package. It moves quickly. Again, it feels a little more tied down in handling too. You get in a corner and the thing feels a little more tied down, a little more steady. It's a nice driving experience. And again, all those things that people really like in Subarus, the quiet, they ride
Definitely
really well.
Quiet.
Subaru's got ride worked out.
Yep. I think and one of the things that we've always said about recent Subarus is you're getting all-wheel drive and you're getting decent fuel economy, and that's no mean feat. So we actually have a first drive of the Outback on consumerreports.org. Check it out, and we're going to be buying one of our test models.
Well, that's kind of an interesting thing.
Well, I'm so glad you interrupted me, because what is going on in a Subaru sales room right now?
So if you're looking for one of these 2020s, you might have to wait till the 2019s are off the lot, because the 2019s are still selling so well that Subaru's kind of easing the 2020s into the market. They don't want to sandbag the sales of what's already out there. The good news is these 2019s are great cars.
Yeah.
Yes, still really good.
Especially if you're buying the base engine. I mean, I'd say if you're looking at the 6, maybe wait for, unless you just love the 6 for some reason, wait for the turbo. Yeah, but if you're just getting a sort of a base car, especially if you don't want that screen, you're not losing out. It's not like Subaru made a car that's light years ahead.
I completely agree. Yeah. I've given that advice to some people, and they've actually purchased the 19 Outback, and they're super happy with it. Again, you're going to get a better deal on it because it's the one going out. They've already released the other one. Your reliability is going to be better because they've kind of worked out all the bugs of this chassis.
Although a lot of things in the 2020 we've seen on other vehicles, though, right?
That's right. So, I think it's going to, look, every time there's a redesign, there's going to be some kind of a hit in terms of reliability, but you're exactly right. So, I don't think for this vehicle, because there's so much in common with other vehicles, again, we saw the 2.4 that's basically in the Ascent. That chassis has been around for a little while and a bunch of different things. So probably a lot of the bugs are worked out, but I think the better bet, for value is actually the 19.
And some of them, I was looking online, and they're marked down pretty decently. You can get one marked down off MSRP, and you can get a decent deal on it.
It's a lot of car for the money.
Now, you mentioned first-year reliability, and I have a great prediction that maybe a question that we're going to get to later in this episode might have to do with exactly that.
You're scaring me.
Which allows us to then transition to the next.
That was the loudest segue ever.
I was trying to do that, that Karnak, the Carson thing.
Made the Outback bring you a bird of paradise. I don't know.
So we're going to get to some possible reliability questions. But the first question that we have, and we love getting your questions, TalkingCars at iCloud.com. Super producer Dave Abrams hates it when I mess that up. But anyway, TalkingCars at iCloud.com. Keep them coming. Text questions, video questions. We love especially the video questions. And the first one we have is from Darnley from Yonkers, New York.
I've heard of Yonkers. I've heard of that place.
Roll it.
Hey, Consumer Reports. You guys are doing a great job. I love it. I love it. I love it. Keep up the good work. I was looking at the Kia Telluride as my number one choice, and the problem was there's an insane markup on these vehicles because they're so hard to get, and they're just not making enough of them. They can't seem to keep them in stock. Long story short, why do these dealerships have to do these crazy markups on these cars? Do you know anything about this? Have you heard about this? Let me know. Thanks.
So Keith, what advice do you have for Darnley? What is going on with dealer markups?
So first of all, good choice on the car. Good choice on the Telluride.
We're converting a lot of people, I think, to the Telluride.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I think this car is such a great value that I think it's a little underpriced. And unfortunately, sometimes when a car is new and it's hot and it's just hitting the market and it's popular, dealers do this thing where they add what's called a market value adjustment or a dealer markup, and sometimes you hear about it with like supercars, or you hear about it about limited edition and $40,000 on the new Supra or something crazy like that. But it's also, I did some research and I found it happened with the Chevy HHR, Saturn Sky, the Toyota Prius C.
I think the first PT Cruisers also were subject to that.
And it's crazy. It's something that just sort of happens. I think what's interesting is that I looked, and this wasn't happening with the Hyundai Palisade. And they're almost identical cars. And I think that speaks a little bit anecdotally. Kia dealers, this seems to be something that happens more often at Kia dealers. It was happening with the Stinger when that first came out, and now they're putting $2,000-$3,000 on the hood just to move the Stinger because it's a slow seller now that the sort of bloom is off the rose.
Right.
So what I would do is I would cross shop with Palisade at a Hyundai dealer. If you like the Telluride better, I'd go and say, hey, listen, I'm just going to shop at a dealer across the street and buy the similar car if you can't match the price. Don't ever pay this dealer this market value adjustment. Don't do it. It's there's actually online, I searched, there's actually a crowdsourced list on a Telluride fan website of all the dealers that have tried to do this. And they tend to be mostly in California, Florida, Texas, but I guess there's one in New York.
I mean, really, with so many good SUVs out there, people have a choice. I mean, what kind of advice, what more can you add that Keith is saying?
Keith's smart guy. No, but I mean, here's the thing. I mean, one, it's very temporary. So, I mean, just kind of take a breath, wait a month, it's probably going to go away, right? I mean, it's just because they're kind of new. It is very interesting. I still think it's so fascinating to see an SUV like this, kind of a volume SUV like this. I mean, you listed all these other cars, and we've seen it before. I mean, we go buy cars, we've been buying cars for a very long time, and sometimes we're being asked to pay extra for these cars, but it's usually slow volume specialty cars. So, I mean, I think it does say something about Kia that, you know, they got a hit on their hands if they think they could charge extra for it.
Wow. Great question. Keep them coming. It's going to move on to the next question we have, and this is from Ryan. And Ryan writes, I'm looking to replace my 2004 Suzuki Grand Vitara, and so far I'm looking at the new Kia Soul. However, common sense tells me not to buy a first-year model due to reliability concerns. But it got me thinking, is there really going to be that much of a difference between the first year of the new model and the first batch of the second year? So, foreshadowing really coming into play here. Jake, what can you talk about first-year reliability?
So first of all, I mean, because it's common sense. Surprisingly, it's not common sense to a lot of people. So, I mean, this is a very correct consumer here and really knows that there is a difference when you redesign a vehicle. What I can say is that, yeah, it does get better after the first year. I don't care what it is, they do get better. Now, the question is, how bad are they on their first year? And there's a couple of things going on. One is you look at the manufacturer. So would I get a first-year vehicle from
Jaguar Land Rover?
A Jaguar Land Rover? Yeah, probably not. Would I do it from a Toyota or a Honda? Well, maybe. But it gets a little deeper because how much is really new about that vehicle? And that vehicle, I mean, there's a lot of carryover parts on that. You look at the powertrain, there's a lot of carryover. So I wouldn't be that concerned about that particular car, about a Kia Soul. If it was something brand new, like we were talking about the first year of the Kia Stinger or something, where it's a whole new kind of platform, I would be a little more worried.
Right.
Fun fact about the Suzuki Grand Vitara: at one point, it was the official state presidential vehicle of Chile, because the president had one as her own car. She got elected, and then she just drove it. So you're in good company with your
Grand Vitara
if you ever want to get elected.
Just in case you needed a little Suzuki trivia there. Excellent. Okay, thanks for that question. Next up is Craig, who writes, love your podcast, and I've been a Consumer Report subscriber for many years. Recently, I've noticed some cars' horsepower ratings increases when using premium gas versus regular. Is this uptick in horsepower using premium only on specific new cars? So, Keith, I'm going to hand this one over to you. Regular gas, premium gas?
Yeah, you're going to see this more often now because a lot more cars are using turbo engines, and also, horsepower is the sort of thing that you can really sell a car on specs, and you can advertise. I have 3 more horsepower than the competition. And using premium fuel, it is possible to, with engine controllers and to kind of squeeze a little more horsepower out of especially modern engines. So Jake, I think you can talk a little
But we looked into this a number of years ago.
Yeah, we looked into it, and we actually did some tests, and we actually looked at some of the cars that allow you to use both. So they actually recommend premium fuel to get the horsepower, but don't require it. And little known fact, pro tip, don't use premium, because in each one of the cases, there wasn't really any difference when we ran the regular fuel. So the truth is when they spec out these engines, yeah, they can spec it around premium fuel. And if you use regular fuel, There may be some situations where you're not going to get that horsepower, but the truth is that you're probably going to get that horsepower anyway. Right. And this is just for the newer vehicles that have the 2 horsepower rates. But caution, make sure that you note this. Do not be confused to think that you have a car, and if you put premium in, you're going to get more power.
Right, any
you're
car.
Not.
Right.
You're absolutely not.
Yeah, but if there is a car where they set up a specific testing condition so they can get the highest horsepower rating possible, they've probably done that with premium
They've probably
fuel.
done that, but you're probably going to get that same horsepower in your normal car.
You're not going to notice.
This is a common question that we get. We've written extensively about this, and basically the takeaway is if your vehicle does not require premium, we wouldn't bother with it. But some vehicles will say premium required, and in that case, that's when you go with it.
That's it.
Excellent question. Next up is John from Fair Lawn, New Jersey. Thanks for the great show. My wife and I have a 2017 Chrysler Pacifica, and while we love it, we have encountered some reliability issues. It's still under warranty, but can we expect to have more issues down the road as problems under warranty? Are problems under warranty predictive of problems outside of warranty? Another great reliability question, and so we sort of have one of the reliability gurus here. So when a car starts, exactly. You're looking at the so when a car starts out a little problematic.
Yeah. Well, here's kind of again a little known fact. I mean, when you look at our new car reliability, the truth is, brand new cars don't have a lot of problems.
Right.
I think we kind of all know that, right? And there's a lot of cars that we don't recommend because, we're saying, well, we think it's going to be unreliable. But when you look at the data, and it's like, well, it only had a few problems. The reason why we're very harsh on these vehicles that have just a moderate amount of problems in their new year is because that's what it does. It predicts. It's all about predicting down the road. So if you're just going to own the car for 6 months or whatever, that's fine. But you know what? If the first year you kind of have a small chance of problems, so maybe you got like 8% chance or whatever, that balloons. We have so much data, so many years of data that shows the cars that have that moderate amount of problems, it grows. It's predictive of having many more problems down the road.
Right.
Yeah. So maybe time to think about trading it in before the warranty.
Right.
The warranty's up.
Well, there's that.
But the one good thing is that they started up with love your podcast. I think people are starting to understand that if you flatter us first, we'll answer your questions.
Video and flattery are the ways to
And listen, John from Fairlawn would totally feel for you. I mean, the Pacifica is a very nice van.
It really is.
And it would be super recommended by Consumer Reports if it unlocked the key to good reliability.
Yeah.
So good luck with that. Last question we have is Hank from San Francisco. In your opinion, what is the best handling compact car in the market? I was thinking either the BMW 330, Volkswagen Golf GTI, or the Tesla Model 3. I really thought we could get through a podcast without talking about Tesla.
He's in San Francisco. Is he trying to recreate the chase from Bullet?
Oh man, he didn't
mention
mention the Charger or the Mustang.
Well, it's modern San Francisco. So you're going to get the Tesla.
How do they land?
Best,
how do they fly
best handling car.
Maybe he lives on Lombard Street.
We're going to be starting with Steve McQueen here. So tell us, what do you think is the best handling car in this general category?
So I think, it kind of depends on what you call a compact.
Right.
Because nowadays there are compact crossovers that handle well. And also there are compact cars like the GT86 BRZ, they're compact, but they're certainly not in this sort of, I think he's sort of more talking about a luxury sport compact sedan.
Well, yeah, looking at his list, I mean, there's probably at least four doors.
Okay, well, that's kind of, the BMW 2 Series, I really, really, really like how it handles. It feels just a little more of the handles. It sounds, soul and visceral, but it really is.
So you can save a little money by not doing a 3 Series, but going with a 2 Series.
Yeah, and it also it's a car that it feels connected. Mm-hmm. It got a great road test score. It's not fussy. It's just a blast. It's kind of the last of its kind.
Right.
Yeah.
So Jake, either from this list or something else in mind.
Well, I like his 2 Series. That's nice. I'm just to kind of throw something out a little different is the Hyundai Veloster.
Nice.
He
didn't mention manual transmission, but that's a good choice.
Well, it's a nice car for manual transmission.
Yeah.
But it handles really, really well, and it's this. It used to be based off of kind of kind of their cheap little car, but this new one is kind of its own chassis, and It's really impressive.
Really flies under,
great shifter.
really flies under the radar.
It flies under the radar.
Yeah, it's a great GTI sort of. I mean, you think GTI, but that's sort of.
Yeah,
that answers that same question.
It's not expensive at all.
Yeah. I was going to throw a little bit of curve too. I'm going to the Kia Stinger. You get rear or all-wheel drive, a sweet turbo V6, really good nimble handling, good steering feedback. I'm a huge fan, and I think this is a car that's sort of underappreciated out there, but I think a good choice certainly in this category. Well, that's about going to do it for this episode. As always, check the show notes for more information on the vehicles and the topics that we talked about. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll see you next week.